Hello everyone. So today I wanted to talk about none of this is true. Why am I slurring my words? I think I have a problem sometimes with slurring my words and not enunciating them properly. Anyways, I wanted to talk about None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. Now, what I will say about Lisa Jewell is that sometimes she is a hit or miss author for me. The first book I ever read by her was Then She Was Gone, when I was 16. I read The Family Upstairs, I believe, and there was another one, like The Night She Disappeared. And then I think I recently read a book that was called, like, I Found You by her. So I want to talk about this one. I got this book, I asked for it for my birthday. So this was my birthday book, and it could have been a hit, but there was something in this book that I really disliked. And it's a trope that's in a lot of things, and I cannot stand it. And it's not a spoiler, but I'm going to tell you about it because I typically do not read the reviews for thrillers because I feel like when I read the reviews of thrillers, often they give things away. And they'll be like, we literally found out who the murderer was on the first page. And it's like, okay, well then when we read the first page, we know what's going to happen. Yeah, but I kind of wish I did read the reviews for this because there is something in this. If I had known it was in there, then I wouldn't have read it. Now you're probably wondering, what is this? Victim blaming. These are my notes, right? I'm going to start from the beginning and to the end, but there is intense victim blaming here. I feel like it's a really harmful message. The main girl, Josie, she was groomed by this older man. He was so much older than her. The book spins it as, well, actually, no. Josie, the young teenager, is actually the evil and abusive one. Poor old man. So what this book is about, it begins with these two women and they both have the same birthday and they're in the same venue and they're talking to each other like, oh wow, we have the same birthday. Our main girl, she does some stalking, finds out that Alex, who is the girl she met in the bathroom at her birthday or whatever, she has a podcast and kind of talks about women's stories. And she gets women onto a podcast and they share their stories. Honestly, whenever I think of a podcast host that's same as Alex, I think of Alex Cooper and I think of Call Her Daddy. And I don't know, Alex is blonde and I'm just like, is this supposed to be like, is anyone else thinking this? I don't know. As Josie is telling her story, well, first of all, the title's called None of This Is True. So you kind of have to decipher, like, is she saying the truth? Is she not? At the end, I'll tell you what I personally think without spoilers, obviously. My mind always jumps to like the extremes when I'm reading, and basically Josie, our main character, she has a daughter and her daughter's in her room. I was a little bit unsettled when I was reading this because every time she went to her daughter's room, she was like, it's really messy in there and it stinks. I was just like, oh, so there's a dead body. Erin's actually dead. Erin's a dead body in the room decomposing in there, and that's why it's stinking, and she's not going in there because, you know, trying to process the trauma. That is not the case, but that's what I initially thought. And honestly, I think that my theory, that would have been a much better theory than like what actually was the cause of the smell. Like the reason why her room was just smelling, I can't even remember. Then I thought it was like some creature because she would leave like baby food for Erin. I can't really remember why she does that again. No, I got this on my jeans. Do you see that? Whatever, I'll deal with it later. Probably. I found this book to be very eerie and I was really invested. I went to uni. I get there kind of early so I can get a parking spot. And I had some time on my hands and I didn't bring a book with me. So I found the audiobook for this. And the audiobook is really good because it's like a podcast. It has the sounds of the podcasting. When people are interviewed, there are different voices and stuff. So I thought the audiobook was good. If you look up, hi, this is your birthday twin, it's literally there. Hi, I'm your birthday twin podcast. Is this real? Let's look at the trailer.
For a few weeks back in June 2019, I spent some time interviewing a woman called Josie Fair for a podcast on the Being President. As you all know, our project was shelved abruptly. It's taken many months for me to...
Wait, that's like actually what it is.
Hi, I'm your birthday twin.
No, it like actually is on Spotify.
40, there wasn't much more to think, really.
The actual podcast is on Spotify. Wow. One of my first thoughts in this book was they better not try to spin it like the 16-year-old was seducing the old man, and I can say that, yeah, that was how it was spun. I'm going to have a little spoiler section for the ending, but that's not going to be here. There's very fast-paced, quick chapters. There's no like chapters, but when there would be a chapter, it's very fast-paced, which makes it very easy to read. I like that her books are accessible because the writing is not that complex and font is quite big in the books. I feel like this is a pretty standard size, but when the words are even smaller, I've read books and it's been like that. And I didn't like how they tried to push the narrative that it's okay that a 40-year-old man wanted her because she also wanted him. Like, that's not how it works. I have an entire Goodreads thing, which I might put here. You can have characters that think problematic things, and how you get around this is by just making other people be like, that's not okay. I'm not saying that every character needs to be perfect, but just the way it was spun was that this man was this poor groomer man. Poor him. You know, like, yeah, he groomed her, but like also, no, there is no also. I definitely think that there are some plot holes in this book. First of all, random phone case. who does that belong to? I read some reviews and some people said that they think that there's going to be like a second book, kind of like the main event in the book happens, and everyone who is interviewed has different opinions on how that night went, and it's really kind of up to you to decide like what actually happened, because there's like several different things. This is what I said. I think that Alex is not a good person. She's not a counselor, she's not a licensed therapist, she's not a licensed psychologist, not a licensed psychiatrist, and yet these people are coming to her with these very real problems, and instead of, you know, trying to guide them into professional help, she doesn't. So for example, her husband is definitely struggling with alcohol substance misuse, and Josie is showing really concerning signs, and instead of guiding them to get professional help, first of all with her husband she just ignores it, and with Josie she just keeps her in because she just wants to keep knowing about like her story, really selfishly. And some weird behaviors that Josie did. Josie was stealing, and she knew Josie was stealing, and they had footage of her digging through the trash. She just kind of ignored that and was like, yeah, but I want to know the story. And because I was at uni and I was listening to the audiobook, I was just sitting there, and when I got to the part where Josie said the age difference between her and her husband, my mouth like actually dropped open in shock, which was something that I thought only happened in media, but my mouth like actually dropped open. I just was like in disbelief. That marker on my pants is really getting on my nerves. Oh, my hands taste like hand sanitizer. Walter, that's the dude's name. And I was literally in shock. Walter belongs on a registry. It's called None of This Is True. So when you're listening to someone's story, it's like, well, now I'm just thinking that none of it's true. Anyway, duh, obviously. Okay, so that's the end of the thing. I feel like this book had the potential to be a hit, but it's just that sort of, that intense victim blaming that like I just can't, and no one said anything about it. Literally at the end, Alex was like, you know, yeah, Walter, you know, he wasn't that good of a man, but he was a good dad. No, he didn't get in trouble. I don't care how crazy Josie was. I don't care. Sick man in the head. And they tried to make it seem like it was okay. And I'm here to say it's not okay. Anyways, now I'm going into the spoiler section. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I think this is where everything ends for you. And if you didn't want to read it yourself, you know, then come back and like watch what I think, because kind of the ending is a little open-ended. It's like, okay, what happens? So Josie has two kids, right? Erin and Roxy. Now, Roxy is kind of like the wild child. You know, she was always one getting into fights. And what essentially happened is her best friend, Brooke, was sexually involved with Walter. Yeah, that's not something hard to believe. Walter has a history. Josie initially thought that Walter was actually essaying her daughter. Every night he would leave and then go into her room. And the reason why is because they were gaming, and like there's video evidence of this because Erin is a streamer. She's not actually decomposing the room, no, she's live, and she was streaming. Everyone was like, oh damn, like is that your dad? And you know, that's kind of the situation, right? First of all, Josie, again, she's a terrible person. Like, just because something terrible happened to her does not mean that she's also not a terrible person. She is a terrible person. Because if you had any suspicions that your husband was doing that, she just, like, ignored it. That's bad. Bad Josie. Just to make things clear, I don't like Josie. Okay, I don't like her, but I also think that she was a victim of Walter, and I feel like I didn't like how the story tried to spin it like she wasn't. But that's beside the point. Like I said, yes, Brooke got murdered. And it's kind of like the whole, well, who murdered Brooke? And they're like, Josie murdered Brooke. Josie is the evil person in this family. And then Josie spins a curveball and is like, actually, Roxy was the one who murdered Brooke, and they all covered it up. I genuinely think Josie did not kill Brooke. Roxy did, the daughter. Because Roxy and Brooke, they kind of had like a relationship, I think. And Roxy wanted to run away. Brooke didn't want to run away. And then Roxy killed Brooke either accidentally with getting her to stop, or just because she was so mad that she didn't want to leave with her, she just killed her because she was so furious. And that's what I think happened. And then I think that Walter and Erin, they all helped Roxy hide the body. And I think they're all ganging up on Josie, where if you say anything, we're gonna just blame it all on you. 3 against 1. You know, like, who's the police gonna believe? If 3 people are all like, she's doing it, she did it. But I think the reason why that Roxy killed her, I already told you that, is because I think she was mad she didn't want to run away with her. But also, she does have a violent streak. So she had gotten into fights. It doesn't escalate from fights to murder that rapidly, but like, and Walter was panicked when Josie was like, I need to tell them everything, because Walter didn't really like Josie. Like, Walter liked Josie when she was a kid, so when she wasn't a kid anymore, he didn't like her. Josie was like, I need to tell Alex the truth, and Walter was so panicked about this. He was just like, no, you can't. Whereas I feel like if Josie was the one who had killed Brooke, Walter wouldn't have cared that much, because he didn't really like Josie, you know. But it makes sense if it was Roxy who murdered her, because Walter liked his children. Alex said, you know, he might have done some bad things, but he was a good dad, whatever. He liked his kids, right? Well, I'm not saying that, but, and I just feel like the panic is because he didn't want his daughter to get, you know, incarcerated, whereas if it was the wife, wouldn't have cared. I'm looking at the back here, right? Completely addictive. I did think this book was very addicting to read. Left me reeling. Yeah, kind of, but like not really. Like, if there is a second one, I am curious to see like how this goes, and if, you know, there is sort of any sort of calling out of Walter's behavior, maybe some backlash for what he did. Twisty, twisty, twisty. Yes, breathtaking. No, oh, I know her. She wrote Gone Girl, I believe, and I think one of the main criticisms that I had of Gone Girl, she does lie about her husband sexually assaulting her, and she falsely accuses him, and everyone thinks that he's done that and he hasn't. And I hate that narrative in books and movies, TV shows, because while it does happen, it is nowhere near comparable to the actual assaults that are carried out every single day. It does not compare. And, you know, when you kind of push this narrative, you know, then it gets people's mind like, oh, well, you know, she could just be falsely accusing him. And I'm just like, it makes me so furious. And the thing is, like I said, you can have these characters who think this, but there needs to be someone else calling them out and being like, that's not okay to do. I wish that I could say everyone knows that, oh, that's wrong. But unfortunately, that's not how people's minds work. That's the end of that looks like a horror movie scene there. That's the end of my review for this book. Now, if you have read this book, please let me know what you think. We can have a discussion in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? If you disagree with me about the age thing between Walter and Josie, then I'm not going to listen to you. If anyone says that Walter was actually the victim to Josie, I would delete your comment. But if you have anything about like the plot line you want to discuss, you know, the ending scene, like what you thought, your opinions, let me know, we can talk. Yeah, that's kind of it's that. Okay, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!